short, very impervious watershed. You guys know it's the university, all parking lots and paved roads and buildings, and it has a time, what we call time concentration, which is the time that from when the rainfall first starts to when we reach the entire watershed's contributing down at the settling basin is 10 minutes. Yeah, that's an extreme, that means it's really steep and it's all asphalt. That's what that, you don't get a 10-minute time concentration without having those conditions. So that means that even small storms can produce big runoffs for a short period. It won't really matter if you have it all formed up with, you know, as you can imagine, with all the plywood and the 2x4s and everything that's going to require these complex structures they're building. It's all formed up and we get a 20-minute intense rainfall like we had last night. At that point, it could come in there and remove all their formwork for them and any concrete that's not cured. So they have nothing, they have not addressed that issue either. So three major fundamental issues. So this is a level, if we were doing these at, you know, between level 1 and level 10, this is a level 8 to 9. But I guess the reassuring thing is that they feel a contractor can, you know, any contractor, it can come in and with enough resources, knock these things out, and if they have the skill and the talent, I mean, it's just a matter of are they going to work nights, are they going to bring lights in, and all that other stuff. So, but we haven't seen any of that. We haven't seen any mobilization other than the panel removal today. So, panels real easy. Those are just 4-inch, non-reinforced concrete panels that they're taking out. So, anyways, that's our critical path. For all these projects right now, the one that's, we need to watch our Crab Estates, but it's not a big project, so we can look at that one.
That just happens to be your aorta right there.
Yeah, it's our primary delivery structure for all, this is how bad it was. I think when it first came up is that I don't think that whoever was in charge, I don't know if it was Boundary or the contractor, didn't realize that that's where all the city's water was delivered, and all our water was delivered. They just thought they could just put the water in the river. Yeah. Their concern was getting the work done at the American Dam so they could put it back in the river. I said, that doesn't do us any good, you know. So it does allow them to deliver to Mexico, but that's about it.
What about the main problem, the Rio Grande, the channel?
Oh, that it's silted up? Yeah.
How are you gonna get water to all of those things?
Well, we can't, if we can't use the American Canal, we cannot make, at this point, we can't make deliveries. If you guys want me to start working on a contingency plan for putting the Riverside Dam back into operation, we can do that. It would probably, I think the minimum to put it back in operation would be first declaration of an emergency situation for the environmental work. We'd have to be a binational because we'd have to do work in Mexico. So there'd have to be a minute order on the tree. And then third, we probably need a funding of someplace around $1 million to $2 million. The city would probably participate.
Certainly they should with all those, their estimated completion date, right?
Our estimated completion date is February 15th, is what we required them to do.
We could may agree.
We don't own that facility,
Yeah, I know.
and we don't have a legal relationship other than a maintenance and operation agreement.
Okay.
But we have made it quite clear that we need everything out by March 1st. And the contractor knows that. I met with a contractor. I spent almost 3 hours with them explaining everything and what their issues could be if we get a storm in the Franklin Mountains and the College Arroyo runs. Yeah. So they hadn't realized that. They hadn't realized, you know, when sending water back out of the American Canal to the river and what the cost would be and what size pumps they would need. Yeah. So that's it. Set them back. Well, it's been a month and a half now.
All that area even up above the university, that Curtin area, and that all
all
that drained down that same area.
Yes, from the
And that's real rocky ground there. It's not going.
It's the most impervious watershed we have in the city. So
Yeah.
and it also can go to a peak flow of 5,000 to 6,000 CFS.
Well,
And
the gates that
100-year flood.
the gates at Border Patrol that the Corps of Engineers designed right there at the end of the College Arroyo, those are the gates that 2 months ago the College Arroyo ran and just
Well, then, as we
That's
told them,
right.
they put grading on the gates and the trash, as an urban watershed, it has a lot of trash in it when it flows. It washes everything off the parking lots and
Sure.
things that, and so we told them that this will be, there'll be an enormous amount of trash in the first flush of that, every storm, unless it's just one day later, it probably wouldn't be too much. But, so it plugged the gates and then they pressurized and they didn't have enough strength, of course, so it just, you start getting those pressures behind it, just twist even large steel, it just twist, like it was a piece of straw. So they destroyed the gates and they gotta remove, they don't know what to do with those gates now. And you can't put, there's no way you can put trash gates. Well, first of all, you have a 10-minute time of concentration, so how do you react to it? We had proposed, the only way, and this is not a foolproof method at all, it's the only way that I've seen it done before, and it's very difficult to work with, is you put a telemetry station upstream that detects the rainfall and anticipates that something's gonna happen, and it opens the gates. You're dependent on a fairly complicated system now to operate, but you have 10 minutes in certain storms to get those gates open, or maybe less, and we don't have a full-time operator there. The gates aren't even our gates, they're not motorized gates, right? Bounty Protocol has a sentry there, 24 hours, 7 days a week. We said in the standard operating procedure that they needed to write it in, that the sentries were each trained to operate that. Border Patrol's business is protecting the border, not operating floodgates, so they didn't
Didn't want to do it.
want to do it, or they didn't do it.
I don't even do the border protection.
Well, that's a different issue I'm just worried about. So
Any of those gates, any of those things, whether you have straight, the grates on them will cause them to stop a little quicker, but they'll still stop them.
well, these are pretty big openings, aren't they?
Yeah.
These
Oh,
will-
I mean, if anything, that they can still.
Yeah, we get locked or something.
They don't get those 4x8 pieces of plywood occasionally.
Yeah. Well, these are, what size are they?
I think they're 5x5.
Yeah, they're big.
4x8
There's
plywood.
like 4 of them.
Yeah, believe me, you got enough pressure behind, even if it's 3/4, it'll. But no, the gates are automatic plugs. I mean, you can't put any grading in front of
Yeah.
it. So their choice would be to shut physical gates down to keep people, or grades, I guess, I don't care at that point. But, and then, in anticipation of the storm event, raise those up. And I think they'd have to do it just based on forecast at that point, not the actual storm. If it's forecast 60%, 40% chance of rain, they'd have to open the gates
Why do they need the gates to begin with?
to keep people from coming back from Mexico,
Yeah,
across the fence. Remember, our facility is on the Mexican side of the fence. And they're, well, you guys have been briefed on this for years.
Yeah.
This project should correct that,
Sort of.
the fence alignment.
I have one more real important question. What is dark craft? What is LUE? Laugh under what?
Well, Union East.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you don't need, okay.
That's right at Artcraft and West Side.
See, you don't need to do your part of that. Those guys down
I
there,
don't know.
and Tordino. That's our primary delivery system. Sorry for abbreviating.
That's okay. I figured out all the other ones. I couldn't figure that out.
LUW is the other side. It's the west side canal. It splits into the La Union East and La Union West. That's where we reclassified as laterals. I think is it a lateral or is it, yeah? Or is it a, yeah, it's a lateral.
MD,
That goes to closed session. It's got it in closed session too.
E,
I got a presentation on the work that I'm doing on the technical analysis of the litigation, so that can go to closed session also.
that's it. Any questions, Val? Jane? Okay, Mr. Pedro, you're on.
I don't have much today. Most of our employees are on the railroad project. We stopped the dump trucks for now. probably until next year. But just to go on that railroad project, it's taking us about 2 weeks per site to get both the upstream and downstream site done. The one on the Clint right now is probably the most difficult because there was also a check structure that had to be built, plus turnout that had to be installed. After we do these two on the Clint, it should go pretty quick. So, with that said,
I had an honestly looking at something information. All right, I don't have my mount,
okay, that's all right.
wireless, so.
We're still continuing with the cleanup of the drains. We're still in the Mesa drain and the border drain. And as you'll notice in some of these pictures, as we're cleaning up that water, there's quite a bit of water in those drains that has been kind of stagnant in different areas. You can't just go along.
Okay.
See right there, that's the Mesa drain. I've got 2 machines on the Mesa drain. I've got 2 machines on the border drain. That's the border drain there.
Yeah, it's still quite a bit, I mean, is it flowing? The border looked like it was flowing.
Yeah. Is there a grade problem at the, or what?
I'm sorry?
Is there a grade problem?
No, actually what's happening is there's a lot of cattail further downstream. And as we're removing it, well, the water just keeps going downstream.
Okay,
So
okay.
it'll eventually drain out because there's really not much water in the drain other than what's been being held up by the debris. And you can see that the cattail there on the right side.
Yeah.
We'll go in there and kind of mow it first and then go back and remove the excavators. This is a couple of problems that we ran into here this past month. This person here, this is over on the Montoya Branch C, just upstream of Frontera. And that is the Branch C extension, which is a ditch that is used basically by the small tracks, but somehow it's our right of way. And it goes right in between all the houses, so we gotta be very careful when we go in and do any kind of work. As you can see, it's a very minimal right of way we have there. Yeah, so, but that's been taken care of. We rented a cherry picker and took care of both those trees, so we're good. Here it's the Clinton lateral just below by Coffin Road, and as you can see, you know, our right of way there, people have been encroaching on the right of way. So it's getting a little bit more difficult to go in there and maintain that left bank. There's areas there that we're just gonna have to go back to the people and have them move their fences or do something to.
Where's
So
it
we
at?
get in there. Right here by Coffin Road,
Oh, okay.
right by Coffin Road, it's just downstream from Coffin Road. So, I mean, we're getting it, but, you know, we're not able to get the whole canal. This is the Salitral. This is the project that's been completed already. And here we're pouring the head wall on the upstream side. And that's kind of what it looks like after we were done. The downstream side, or also the upstream side, since we realigned the Salitral, we had to shotcrete a section of the Salitral to keep from erosion, because it makes a pretty sharp turn there. So in here you'll see where the shotcrete has been applied already. There's about 700 feet of shotcrete that was applied. That's upstream looking downstream. That's the downstream side, and just the formwork going in, and then the pour on the next section. We left that bridge in place. That bridge is being used by Ramon Virles to get to the Eric Huereque's property on the opposite end. And I found that it'd be easier just to extend that bridge rather than to remove it and build a brand new bridge. That's the downstream side, and you can see the bridge right there on the left-hand side. That's the bridge I'm talking about, the culvert. And where we tied into the culvert. Now this is the check that we poured this here yesterday, the check, and the upstream head wall. It's just kind of the procedure of what we do, the steps of what we do. There are the pillars and the wing walls are going up. You can see that other crew working on the downstream side there. We're working on all three projects up at the same time. And this is the upstream head wall. I like pictures because they usually just tell a story.
Yeah. They sure do.
And that's on the downstream side there, by Morning Glory. There's quite a bit of steel going into these structures.
Studs. They're good.
Yes,
Studs are welded
yes, you can see
in
the
the
studs on the pipe that were
Yeah.
welded on by a welder. They've also been coated,
Oh, good.
yes, so they're not being left.
Yeah, yeah.
raw.
We checked that. Water stops. Fantastic.
Water stops, and then we're also, we're going a step further, and we're installing some O-rings on that pipe. You can see it right on the back of that pipe,
Oh, okay.
and that's just to keep it from getting any kind of leaks between the pipe and the concrete, being that it's a smooth pipe. We're installing one on the back side of the studs and one on the upstream side of the studs, on the other side of the studs. So there's actually two O-rings in there. Admiring his work or trying to figure something out.
The little red things on top of the rods there, rebar, yeah. Are
Yes,
those
sir.
a safety?
Yes, sir, there's safety, just to
Safety.
make sure
In case
nobody
somebody
falls.
falls on them.
Exactly, yes, sir. This pour was actually done last Friday, the one on the downstream side.
You have to use new material every time you build those forms, Peter, can you salvage some of this?
We do reuse a lot of it, Johnny, just the ones on the head wall itself, where the pipe's at. Since the very first pour that we did, it was a 60-inch pipe. Then we're having, this is actually a 48, so we'll use a 60. We'll use it again on the Wellington. And these 48, we're gonna continue using them on pretty much all the plant.
Takes a lot of material to form that stuff.
Yes, it does. I've actually had to order somewhere around, I'm thinking about 600 pieces of rebar of just the number 5s.
There's a lot of steel,
What's
that's
up?
well worth it, huh?
Yeah, we gotta live with it, so we have to make sure that,
Yeah. Well, they'll still
That's
be here
the
right
right.
now living with it, I think.
but, pretty much that's all I got. You know, I think we're moving along good. We should be completed before schedule, I'm hoping. And, right now the guys are working 5 days a week. They're working additional 8 hours a week, so I mean, we're really getting along now. Pretty well.
All right, thanks, Pete.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
doing some good work.
Thank you, sir.
We don't need Robert, I mean, he's not running water here.
No, and he said he really didn't have anything to.
Already? Don't give him a hard time. He beat me to it.
What he brought up was that we actually think we've increased capacity in all those structures.
Yes.
And it's not just capacity, it has, because the previous structures were inverted and they had accumulated silt, that when you first bring water into it, it takes some time to wash some of the silt out, so that's the point back to what the operator's gonna be, and Robert knows is gonna have to be careful about it, that the point of restriction now is gonna be to check downstream, the next structure downstream, so if they're gonna overtop canals, it won't be upstream anymore, where they need to be on the other side of the tracks. The other thing is that it's a little bit, I don't think it's an issue, but we need to be careful, would be that if we introduce since these are not, some of them are almost on grade, so there'll be air introduced into the system, so that if we don't have water in the system during the summer and the pipes get hot, because of the air flowing through them, they come up to the ambient temperature, and then we hit it with the cold water, the rapid change could crack the concrete walls. You know, you develop such a stress, I don't think it's gonna affect the pipe, it's pretty darn strong pipe. But you have such a long reach there that the thermal contraction of it could actually crack the head walls. So I don't know what that means, we almost always have water in it, but I guess if you de-water it and let it get hot and then re-water it, we need to do it slowly or something. I don't know how
It
you do
usually
that.
happens slowly anyway, you don't just release the flood.
Yeah, as long as the water's ambient, it's not, it'd be just hitting it with cold water, is all.
Where'd you water?
It'd be, yeah, if it was from well water or something.
We have you watering from the ground at 69 degrees, but I think the flow is usually the same as it's like at 90.
And I just, we don't, never had the, you know, that pipe's that long, and they don't have any expansion joints in them, so they'll develop, hundreds of thousands of pounds, you know, a 10-degree shock of temperature will develop a huge force before it could eat
And then usually when the water starts, I mean, it builds up, it doesn't just go.
I wouldn't think so, I think it would trickle
When you
through.
cool it off, kind of, slowly, wouldn't it?
Well, and also if it's not hot today, we hit it with water. I'm just a little, like I say, it's a low probability, but we've never had systems like that. Because the corrugated pipe expands, it doesn't develop any stresses, the corrugations absorb all that. RCP doesn't do that. PVC doesn't do that. So the only thing that does it is steel pipe, and this is 1/2-inch thick steel pipe. It's exactly the type of stuff that does it. So just be aware. Either that, or it could develop enough forces to just try to move your entire structure. We'll see if that happens.
Railroad included?
No, the railroad's is gonna float on top of it, it's a non-issue, they designed there specifically, but it's just beyond our head walls. We're anchoring a big piece of pipe, if it was completely buried underground and the constant temperature would ever be an issue, but these now are not. So you just have to be aware of it, I'm not saying that it'll happen. But, like Jay says, probably the biggest one would be at a 100-degree day with air in it, and then put well water in it at 70 degrees, it would be enough of a shock to cause problems.
If there's enough wells to fill that pipe up, I wanna see them.
Yeah, you wish.
Yeah, I wish. Okay, that's it, Robert?
That's it.
All right, well, thanks, guys.
No water?
All right. Water delivery allocations, we're gonna do that now, or gonna wait till January, or?
You know, we don't have a final allocation, I don't see any need to make it now. I mean, the only thing would be good, maybe the discussion about, since the inflow is, and we've got some public meetings coming up in January.
Yeah, we need to have a public meeting first part of January and talk about it.
Well, right now-
Yeah, it doesn't have to have I don't know that we have to have a specific allotment, but kind of what we're looking at is start date and a more or less.
So we probably should discuss that today, even though I don't think we can make a resolution today. So right now, we have 6 inches. And, you know, because we only allocate what we have, and we don't even have that because it's not finalized, but it's close, it's gonna be close to that number. So we have, with the wells and the sewage effluent, so we got it back in, we have 6 inches. Maybe 8, but probably depend on how, a few things, but. So that's good. I think, you know, the way that the calculations work is that, you know, we get an extra 20,000 acre feet, almost all of that goes to deliveries. Because I have to take off the losses off the, I have to, you know, I talk about like a poker game where you have to ante to get in the game. Well, I gotta take off so much just to get into the game of delivering water, charging the canals, seepage, all that stuff. So every acre what we get past, once we pay for that first, those first estimated losses is almost at a much higher efficiency. So, so we should go to around a foot by March, and maybe even a little more. I think ultimately the year looks pretty good.
What about opening, initial delivery date? That's a real critical.
Yeah, I think that's what the farmer's gonna wanna know in January, but, we still need to meet with the EPCWID and.
Yeah, it's an EPCWID deal. We've never been able to achieve any sort of firm agreement with them in the last years, right?
Well, last year they,
I mean, but they fought us, and then finally at the last minute, they got pressure from their own farmers, and
right,
we could have handled, last year was one of the, well, you guys will remember, it was a very project-wise inefficient year for no reason other than there was disorganization upstream. And the year before, we had a very good year, and so, and some of that was attributed to personnel changes and some other things, but the main thing was it was an ad hoc. We don't plan for this, we wait till everybody starts complaining and then react, right? Is that right, Judy? I mean, that's what I saw.
yeah, but, you know, in talking to them briefly at San Diego, and this was their board president and Gary Esslinger that I was talking to, they're also thinking of more or less what they're going to do and because of the pressures that they got last year. So I think come January, they'll be really thinking about what we're gonna try and do also.
But what, it's that there's no, okay, that aside, so we could ever get EPCWID to commit and state a commitment, which I still have my doubts, because it's been difficult, but I do think there'd be a desire to release earlier on them. They still don't, their pattern still doesn't match our pattern. And so, you know, what would the scenario, well, let's say hypothetically we get 2 feet. This year looks better than last year. I'm not saying Robert left, he should have stayed, but I'm not saying,
We're recording this.
yeah, I'm not saying we're getting 2 feet at this point. I'm saying my best estimate at this point is 1.5 feet like last year. But we probably, it's a solid 1.5 feet, whereas last year, as Judy said, at this time of year, we didn't have any water. So, so let's assume that it's 2 feet, just for hypothetical purposes. When, that means we could open up as early as May 1st. Does that do us any good? And the people that want water on May 1st.
Better April first.
You know,
That's
the trouble
water,
is,
dude.
No, I'm
anything,
just saying, that's,
Johnny's right, because we need to tell those guys once again that don't plant any more than you can cover with your well.
That's gonna be the big problem.
That's the one. And see, last year, people got a little optimistic, some guys really stretched it, made it real hard on Robert. Robert did a great job of somehow managing that.
Well, at the same time, you know, when there is gonna be a little bit more water,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be, but, you know, this is.
there'll be more land planted too, and the PP's going down a little on this forest road.
Anyway, just from a irrigation scheduling requirement, are we gonna have the demand if we open up on May 1st? The cities doesn't come on board till June, so we're not gonna have their demand.
You'll have demand.
You'll have demand for pecan trees and alfalfa, probably. And any other kind of crops. Anybody that's planting cotton, probably not much.
What's the replant or something?
And maybe we could get them with the return flow and
Yeah, I
treated
mean,
water.
that's how we've been doing it. Most of that'll be covered by the return flow.
Last year
The
was
only
what?
problem
June
is the guys up here don't have the return flow,
Right.
so that's it. But I don't know how you could start irrigating in 1st of May and plant much cotton in this country.
I just don't wanna get to the 3rd week of May and have everybody watered out and we shut off.
Yeah, shut off and not turn it on again till July.
I don't know, it's causes such disruption in the
Well,
system.
sure would.
The AD's on board, and Mexico's on board, and,
Was last year June 1st, is that right?
we released on the 25th. I think.
Yeah, so
Released
more or less June 1st.
Yeah, June 1st.
You know, Pima cotton, you can't, I mean, you're really pushing it. Like Art said, you can put just some open cotton at a later date. You know, it might be, just thinking through it, if people are out there, people that are farming, of course, the problem is now Pima cotton's not very expensive, and Pima cotton is, so most people would want to plant Pima. But if you can keep, you know, if the people could utilize, the farmers, I'm thinking about a farmer planning his operation as far as row crops, so that if he could utilize whatever he can access in return flows to pre-irrigate. And the stuff that he can't, pre-irrigate with the return flows, then he could look at some shorter season uplands, because these uplands, you can plant them, they plant them up into June now, on the plain. I mean, a lot of them don't even start till the 1st of June, so there are some varieties of upland cotton. And then you have the other users, you know, so maybe let's flirt with the idea of around the 1st of May if possible, and y'all can run it by Gary and them and see what they're thinking. And I mean, this is not a promise, but it's something that we're gonna target, and we'll tell them target 400 times, and the last question will be, when are you gonna open the dam? You know, I promise you, but still, they need to kind of have an idea. So, I mean, if people think through their whole scenario, that there are possibilities to do it. The only problem is that where we don't have return flow, which is in the upper valley, and which is from, you know, this part of the valley north up there, that we can't get anything north of Skull Road up there, wherever it is. It's a problem.
I mean, obviously, the preferred way to deal with the upper valley is to sync up with EPCWID as much as possible.
Sure, well, of course, yeah. Well, it is for everybody,
Yeah.
for everywhere.
We ran 10 days later than EPCWID, or 2 weeks later than them up at the valley.
Yeah.
Which causes, you know, we did it because everybody, you know, trying to be fair because of the return flow issue and balancing. But, you know, that, our efficiency when we do that is about 20%. For every acre foot we put on, we use 4 acre feet to do it.
So let's start talking that to Gary and them and see what, you know, what we can come out of it. Because, like I say, that gives you some options as far as row crop farming, and if there's any other crops planted, there aren't many anymore. There's a few onions and a few things like that, and anytime you've got water, good water, they can use it almost. Well, they start harvesting in May, don't they? And alfalfa's always, I mean, hell, it's every other week.
There's still a lot of them.
You know, some of us, it's like, some of us think you could put a winter irrigation
I'll
on
tell
it.
you what, there's some of these new varieties that are salt resistant on this alfalfa.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
amazing.
That one they call salt.
I don't know what it is, but I mean, the Davis brothers planted some, I said, all they do is pump on it, and my gosh.
As long as you get it germinated.
Huh?
It works.
I promise you, I mean, it produces more than the stuff on good water, that's
You
unbelievable.
do worse with district water than that.
Yeah, it'll probably kill it, if you put good water on it.
Yeah, pretty
We need a concrete that does that. I
Yeah.
haven't found one yet.
No. Well, if it's all right, for the rest of the board, kind of a consensus, let's
Kind of think
see
so.
what the 1st of May in that area does.
Yeah. What are we, when's our public meeting?
Well, I had,
Before the board meeting?
talked to Robert, and we wanted to wait till after the January board meeting to meet with the farmers.
Okay, so I'll come back, we'll run the scenarios, and we'll talk to Phil.
Maybe the dam will keep
The
running
board
like
meeting is
that.
like,
But all indications by
14th,
January will be fine.
around the 14th, yeah, that's
We
right.
saw it's pretty strong.
14th, I think that's right.
You think it's gonna stay that way though?
Because if it stays that way, I mean, we
For
may,
the next 30 days.
For this 30
And then, you know, the day after the board meeting or something like that, we can do it. But let's just, for food for thought, just to kind of consider that. Flirt with that situation.
It is the 14th.
January 14th.
The first is on Thursday, right?
The first is Thursday.
Yes.
That's what.
All
We can move it up if you want to move it up.
Yeah, because the first is on a Thursday, so we could move it up.
We moved the board meeting to Wednesday, the first Wednesday, 7th.
Do we really need to? I mean, we can.
It's up to you, I don't need to, unless it's for the public meetings, it's up to the farmers if they need us to get the information out faster. We could have the public meeting on the 15th, or they start on the evening of the 14th.
Yeah, we could have them 15th and 16th.
I think that works for me. And the thing about it is, we're not gonna be able to give them anything but just some ideas about what we think's gonna happen. To kind of get, so that they can plan accordingly. There's a lot of reasons, you know, if you tell them there's gonna be more water this year, they'll plant more, which they need to, probably. But the timeliness, and, you know, it's really been working pretty good. It surprised me as how good it has worked. Down here where we have return flows, that's a problem in the upper valley. They have to use their wells to pre-plant irrigate pretty well. And so the same up here.
But in general, the wells up there are still a higher quality.
Yeah, no, they are, but I mean, it's more expensive water, I mean, regardless of quality.
That's
But it
big,
didn't tie
you
to-
know, us farmers with 300-foot water.
But it didn't tie to the
That's pretty
river.
cheap water.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd take that if it cost me, you
it isn't tied to the river water.
Oh, just because it has the same quality as the river.
Yeah, just because it's the same. Well, let's do that then, I guess,
Okay.
at the 14th.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll give you all some time to some more thought, where we kind of have a better idea if anything's really varied, or if we've had any big snowstorms or anything. Has any of this really stuff that's been going across California and had made it up there?
Just rain, but there's no snowpack.
Is it rain while we were getting,
That's why we're getting those.
wouldn't mind, I mean, it'd be fine if it didn't snow first for it. I'm just sorry, it rained a lot. And when it all came down, we don't have to wait for the wind to blow it away.
That's one advantage, what that we talked say, but you think about it, assuming, one of our issues always was we wanted the snow to melt as fast as possible to get down here before they could use it.
If it rained, it'd be.
They're not gonna use it in the winter, I'll tell you that, when it's
No,
freezing,
no.
so if it doesn't snow as much and it all ends up in the river, that's not.
Yeah, but my recollection for the few little years I've been here, that about half the time it blows away before it ever melts.
It does, I mean, it cuts us, it has all sorts of significant
Engineering,
changes.
engineering sublimes.
Yeah, it doesn't sublime.
All right, let's move on. Applications, Jay? None?
There are none this month.
That's,
Everybody's in construction.
yeah, everybody got so many who
All
are,
right. Well, we need to.
Jay, on your
we need
memo,
to-
you have this, review and consideration of methods used to calculate previous year's assessment.
that's mine, not Jay's.
Well, the memo is from Jay,
This is a memo?
yeah. And I'm just wondering, is that just an accidental carryover from October, November?
I'm not sure what we're doing, but on the agenda, on item 11A,
It's under tab 11.
yeah, that's, well, they just, I guess Sharon, you just do those inserts, they're just the reflection of the agenda, right? It's just a convenience of reflecting the sectional agenda item. So the agenda is the one, it's on the agenda under 11A, and that's for closed session. I think, well, let's talk about it, maybe we can't do that one in closed session. It's a real estate deal, it's reclassifying lands. Is it covered by advised attorney, still not that one, pursuant? Licensing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property is shown on the opening agenda items. I don't know, what do you think, Jim? We can do that in open if you want.
Well, let's return and talk about it in closed session, and if any action's required, they can go back and consider it for a resolution.
Oh, yeah, no, obviously we can't take any action in closed session. My question is, does the consideration of methods used to calculate previous year taxes, it's a reclassification of irrigated land under 55677, is that covered under the, to go into executive session by the Government Code 55.072? I talked to Phil about this, but he's not here, so I didn't talk to him about this issue, though. We can go to close. I don't really care. I think it can go in open if you guys
Well,
want.
essentially what's happened is they've done away with that old 1/3, 2/3 ratio requirement.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do, this is not, this has to do with 55677, which is a reclassification of irrigable land, of non-irrigable to irrigable. Well, it's not, it's a reclassification of land.
I don't see a problem with doing it in open session. What's the problem? I thought we had methods to do it.
We do, I wanted to go over those, we wanted to look at the rate, you guys rather just periodically look at what the engineering charges for fees and everything, you brought that up for the last time, so I scheduled this. We've got several pending reclassifications, and we haven't looked at that for a long time. The issue, it's a time value of money issue, and you don't get direction out of the water code on the time value of money, so the board has discretion to decide that in 1939, your acre assessment was $5 per acre. Do you want to adjust that for inflation, and if so, how much? It's because it's $5 in 1939 is not $5 in 2014.
No, it was a heck of a lot more.
It It was a heck of a lot more. So, that takes
How
a,
much of this do we have to deal with?
we have hundreds of thousands of dollars is the decision that you'll make today, if you make a decision on this, is where is the difference.
Maybe
of
I'm
hundreds of
not
thousands of dollars.
understanding where we're even at, I guess.
Okay, when we have land that is not taxable, and Rose might be able to speak to this better than me.
Well, yeah, I understand,
And we
whenever
reclassify
we
it,
reclassify, but how much
If
of
you
it's out
can't
there?
tax it.
Well, we have pending very small amounts and very large amounts.
Section
We have one pending that you guys approved, subject to setting the rate. We didn't set the rate at it, so but you did look at it, and we can deliver water to it of 176 acres
It's two something.
Right.
to, over to, well, I think
You're
there's some.
You're talking about the park.
Yes, 272
Yeah.
acres?
Yes,
Yeah, but not all of that is, some of it's already
some had already
been reclassified, so 176. There's a large amount.
I remember 170-something acres.
And there's some other issues with that particular one. We're not here to discuss that particular one. This is a general item. for
No,
all
I
people.
understand, but I'm asking what's out there because I'm not.
Well, I think
forgotten
in
about that.
the amount that could be reclassified, there's approximately 500 acres of
about 400,
400.
not over 500.
So the decision that the difference being, I can present that all to you, if you decide not to adjust for inflation, and if you do adjust for inflation, it would be in the order of several $100,000 difference. So it's a significant, it's a decision the board has to make.
If you adjust for inflation, that's what I'm saying, but like I say, it caught me, because I had forgotten about that specific issue, but I didn't know there was any other areas in the valley that.
Well, we're constantly looking we would prefer to have 69,000 and 9.99 acres
69,000.
as taxable. And right now, we have 68,000.
Well, most of that's because of public land.
It's from all sorts of reasons. Urbanization.
But most of that is from public lands, right? I mean, entities that are not taxable.
No, I don't think that's the way it works.
Right, no, that's
Uh,
right.
We have strived at all times since I've been affiliated with making this decision, working with Rose, to have 69,010 acres classified as irrigable and taxable.
Arable.
Okay.
Yeah, most of it's streets and stuff.
Well,
But then what's
some-
happening is, we have a condition that to be reclassified, the past year's taxes
No, I understand that.
Right.
I understand all
have
that.
to be repaid.
My original question was, I wasn't aware that there's any other lands out there that we could move it to in the valley.
The district has, within the district boundaries, we have 81,000 acres.
Yes.
And some of that was classified non-arable due to the engineering difficulties with it. The ability that we could put in pumps now and water some of this. We have land in this
All of
area.
this stuff over here, I understand that, but where else is there in the valley like that?
There's acre here and acre there.
It's not
There's a
much.
couple of
Island C.
subdivisions that were given the option in the early 70s to essentially give up their water right, because they didn't want to irrigate any longer or pay taxes. So they're small lots, most of them are in the upper valley.
But they couldn't.
They couldn't surrender their rights.
can't
They were,
surrender it.
73, that's surrender.
They weren't
essentially-
suddenly, that's why it's not,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, so those are the lots that are coming back.
Those are complicated ones. Those are ones that were not subject to construction charge, but were still arable, and now they want to go back and be subject again. Anyways, that's
Reclass, right?
yeah, it's still a reclassification.
Reclassification, but, I mean, they gave it up once, you got paid for it, and then they want it back.
If you're,
But in this case, Mr. Stubbs, no, the property is classified as being irrigable, it's either highland or sea. It was not SEC land at all.
Yeah, but we do, we're talking about this in general, how we do reclassification.
No,
We bring
I
each
understand.
reclassification to you.
What really the purpose of my question was, how much is it needed, because I was unaware that there was any real.
No, it's neat. Well, as I'll reiterate, I can go through the calculation for you, but the decision you'll make here today could effectively be easily, if the entire 5 acres, if it applied to the entire 5 acres, that's what we did. It would be both in the short term, probably about $200,000 to $300,000. In the long term, maybe $600,000 to $700,000 of revenue difference to the district. So it's a significant decision that the board needs to make, a determination of the time value of money. If you make no determination of it, then that revenue would be not recovered or not be income to the district.
Well, why is it that much? Do we make them go all the way back to when that 39
We
days?
may even go back to the point that we feel that we could first deliver water into the land, could,
And so they
But
have to
some of
pay
it-
all those in arrears to catch up to
Yes,
get
sir.
to the, all
But
right.
you're not charging water assessment charges.
no,
But if you,
just the flat, just
if
the,
you're reclassifying to some that did receive water before, is that?
we have to give them a credit for the, that makes it, that complicates it. We have to go back and look at the years that they did pay the taxes, but in this, and some of that is true. But anyways, the conclusion here is, and why I brought this to the board, and why it wasn't, last time we did this was 2006. At that time, we were much closer to the 69,010. It wasn't a big deal, revenue-wise, and you guys decided not to charge, I believe, no time value of money at that point.
It was
But
the rate.
as I've been requested to review all fees and income calculations with the district, I brought this back to you. If you want to make that same decision, you
How do
can.
you do that? How do you calculate?
There's 3 or 4 different ways to do it. It's not a simple thing. One way would be to go back to Bureau of Labor Standards and apply a consumer price index for every year, bring